Hey, Tom, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, and what about you, Logan? Are you there?
I am here, sir.
Okay, Jim, let me tell you about these and all the people that are watching and listening. Now, Saturday afternoon, I spoke for a men's retreat in New Brunswick, Texas.
I love that place.
And it's a beautiful place down there. And that's where I met these two fellows. Now, they have a unique relationship to each other. Now, Tom actually asked Logan's permission to date a particular woman, and then later asked Logan's permission to marry this particular woman. Now, you think, well, that's not so unusual. Is Logan like maybe her father? No, actually, Logan is not her father. So, Tom, you and Logan, can you kind of succinctly tell us a little bit about that story to begin with, and then maybe we can ask you some questions about it?
Yeah, Dr. Joe. I was married to Logan's mom, Susie, and our marriage didn't go very well. We got divorced when Logan was less than 1 year old. I then got remarried, and that marriage didn't go very well either. I went through a lot of counseling for the next year or so, and learned a lot about myself and relationships and marriage and God and so on. And then ultimately started dating my first wife again, and we ultimately got remarried. And so I asked Logan permission to marry his mom, and Logan is my son.
Okay. Wow. Now, did you not also, I'm trying to remember what you told me Saturday, did you also ask Logan's permission to date his mom?
Oh, sure. Yes. I actually, before even thinking about marriage, I asked Logan's permission to date his mom to make sure that Logan would be comfortable with us, being more than just co-parents.
Okay.
And he was excited about that. And he was only 5 or 6 years old at the time.
So, Logan, how well do you remember that?
I remember bits and pieces. I don't remember the full story, but I remember the whole ideal of my parents getting back together and having the whole happy, good, jolly family again.
Okay, so when your dad came to you and said, "I want to date your mom," the kind of emotions that you can remember that you felt were?
As every kid, it's kind of what I expected to happen. I never knew anything different. And I was pretty excited having that family back together because I kind of lived two different lives, having a pair of divorced parents.
Can I ask you a question or two about that, if I may? When you say living two different lives, can you tell us just a little bit about that, Logan?
Well, with my father's side of the family, with him and his second wife, I lived a more serious, prim and proper life. But with my mother's side, it was pretty much me and her the whole time. And she became one of those people where I could just goof around with and pretty much do whatever I wanted with.
Okay. So she was your mom, but she also was your buddy, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
yes,
let me ask you one more question, and Jim, please feel free to jump into this. One more question is this. You said you kind of expected that somehow they would get back together. Was that kind of a dream that you had? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the funny thing is, around this time, the movie Parent Trap came out. And that was about the two girls who got their parents back together. And so I saw the movie and I thought, well, dang, this could actually be my reality.
Awesome. Fantastic. And so, okay, so your dad finally comes to you and says, "I want your permission to marry your mom." Do you remember that episode at all?
I do. I do remember that, and I remember exactly how he asked her and everything. And it really was a shock to me. It was a big changing moment in my life.
So did you feel altogether positive about it, or was there any apprehensions?
I said yes immediately.
Okay. And so did you play any part in the wedding? I didn't ask this the other day. I'm curious. Did you play any part in the wedding at all?
Well, the coolest thing is the wedding, it was me, the preacher, my father, my mother, and a hot air balloon pilot. So there was about 6 people in a hot air balloon.
That is so cool.
And that's how they got married.
Okay.
Way to set some
Second
high
time.
expectations, Tom.
And so Logan, how old were you when they remarried?
I was 8 years old, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
8 or 9.
And how old are you now, my friend?
I'm 17.
17. So you feel pretty good about this, right?
I feel wonderful about it.
So, Tom, may I ask you a question or two here? Tom, and I don't know how much you want to say this, I mean, because people around the world actually listen to this and watch this. Okay. But are you willing to tell us any of why that marriage ended the first time?
Sure. Unfortunately, I share this story often because I hope that it helps other people, but I wasn't ready to be married. I wasn't good at being married. I wasn't, I wasn't a faithful husband. I wasn't a good husband. I didn't know what I was doing. And unfortunately, my wife knew exactly what she was doing, and she was a child counselor by education, and all the problems I had, she could see and understood them. And we actually went to counseling at the very end, and I said, I'm done, and I just need to go. And she actually said, well, I love you enough to let you go, and she let me go.
Okay. And
I went and dated again and got married again, and this lady was the exact opposite, and that marriage fell apart as well. And then I realized that there were 2 failed marriages, and I was the common denominator in both.
Yeah. So the marriage.
So I did a lot of counseling with it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
But your marriage now, how would you rate your marriage today, my friend?
I think it's, as far as I can tell, it's the best marriage I could ever have.
He's kind of hedging his bets there a little bit.
Well, sir, I realized early on that marriage is the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. Yeah. And that you have to sacrifice yourself for the other person. And in a lot of people's lives, that's hard to do. And you have to kind of check yourself every day to make sure you're doing it the right way. And I probably fall short every day, but she forgives me, and we make it through it. But
excellent.
And we had to, and honestly, Joe, we were both Christians the whole time, but we never had God as a foundation in our marriage. And the third time around, God was the foundation in our marriage, and that's why we got married in a hot air balloon, because that was the closest place we could be to God.
I'm not sure it works exactly that way, but that's the way you want it to. Tom,
that was our thought. That and the fact that we'd already had a big wedding with bridesmaids and tuxedos and all that stuff, and we still had the pictures, so we didn't really need to duplicate that.
I got you, my friend. Got you. Hey, Tom, Logan, thank you so much for this story of hope, and that's what I wanted to start with today. I wanted people to hear the story of hope, and may God bless you bountifully, and may things continue to go well for the rest of your lives. Hey, Logan, if he ever decides to not, walk the straight and narrow, call me. We'll come over and fix him, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, you guys take care.
I appreciate that as well.
Thank you very much.